I saw this article and I thought it was so cool. This was in July 28th, Arizona Daily Star.
All right.
It has this picture of this older couple.
She was trying to seduce him.
Yeah, that's what caught me. Like, I was like, oh, what? But this is so funny. Financial scams of elderly rising AG. Pima Council on Aging warn. It says, Tucsonian David Wright drained his wife Mary's $250,000 retirement account, sending tens of thousands of dollars to a woman he met on Facebook last year. Ooh, right? I've seen this. I've heard this story before.
Well, okay, was it a real person?
Okay, the couple in their 70s took out a loan on their Jeep, which had already been repossessed once for missing payments. They are also hoping they could take out a home equity loan. The couple's example is one of the most extreme reported to the Pima Council on Aging, which offers resources to older adults daily who have been scammed via social media, email, or phone calls. From fake social media relationships to AI media cloning, financial scams targeting older adults are at an all-time high, and Arizona has the highest rate, the Attorney General says. David, 74, built an online relationship with, quote, Catherine Charlotte, unquote.
Okay.
Over the course of a couple months, typically chatting about her work and their daily lives. She is pictured in a photo she sent him as a blonde, hazel-eyed woman looking to be in her late 30s. After 2 months of talking online, the woman, who claimed to be a chef from the East Coast, said she needed to send a company $30,000 to get a job as a chef on an oil rig in Mexico.
Sounds legit.
David said. And he sent her the money to try and help her out, he said. All of the funds he sent were from his wife's 401k.
And so, okay, so do they say, was it a real person? Who was this? Who was this Charlotte? What was her name?
Catherine Charlotte.
Catherine Charlotte. Who did it turn out to be? Did they find out? It was just a scammer.
Let's see. It's a scam. I don't think it's a person. I think it's a scam. I mean, like a full-blown scam. Let's see. A2 wants me to go to A2. Gosh.
This is funny because this just happened to me last week.
Really?
Yeah, someone at midnight, I get like my phone rings and it's like, it says Las Vegas. And I'm like, I don't know anybody in Vegas. And it's like almost midnight. It like woke me up. And then so I'm like, whatever. I silence the phone because I'm like, I got to go to work in the morning. Like, I'm not answering. Who's calling from Vegas at this time of the night? So I get up the next morning. I see there's a voicemail. I listen to it. And it sounds like a feminine voice. And it's like, hey, AJ, I'm in Vegas, blah, 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 blah. And it's like really kind of noisy. Can't make it out. I'm like, okay, obviously someone had the wrong number. I don't think anything about it. A couple days later, I get a text. Hey, AJ, what are you doing? Are you up yet? And then I just like look at it and I ignore it. And then the conversation starts to take, the text, I'm not saying anything, the text starts to take kind of like a sexual direction. And I'm like, interesting. So I text like, I'm sorry, you have the wrong number. And they're all, oh, are you sure I have the wrong number? I'm like, I don't answer. And I don't answer. And I'm like, I show my wife and I'm like, check this out, what's going on? And then so like, then I don't hear anything for about 7-8 days. And I'm like, okay, like they got the point. And then it comes back up and it's like, hey, AJ. And I'm like, okay, like this is like a scammer now. Now I was like, okay, maybe this is just a mistaken phone number or something. But now I'm saying like, no, something else going on. Because then they start going into this whole like backstory of their life. And there's like, a lot of sexual innuendo and stuff, trying to like bait whoever.
Yeah.
Just pull someone in.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I show my wife, we have a laugh. And I'm like, how can I block this? Like, is there a way I can like, I finally ended up blocking the number. Before that happened then, so it got even weirder. So I'm thinking like in my head, this is like, well, I know it's not a chick, but I think they're like trying to make me believe it's a chick.
Sure.
So I don't know if they're like, well, they're not biting at this. Let's try something else. So all of a sudden, the person comes out as being a homosexual.
Okay.
And starts talking about like, yeah, I'm thinking about, so AJ, you know, I'm thinking about moving to San Francisco because the gay scene's really hot there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this just keeps getting weirder and weirder. And I was like, man, like, how many people like get pulled into this? That's what I'm thinking. And then right here, there's this article about some guy getting pulled in.
It says David and Mary Wright have had to take out a title loan on their Jeep, blah, blah, blah. And it says, since January of this year, my wife and I have been in distress financially. David, however, is back in contact on WhatsApp with Catherine, who continues to demand money according to screenshots he sent to the Star after review. So they haven't got down to the bottom line of who this person is. But, you know, if you're on WhatsApp or Telegram or any of those.
What? Okay, I'm way out of touch. What's WhatsApp? What is this?
That's the app that is. Let's see, it's a green little icon on your phone. It's like another way to communicate through texting.
Okay.
And Telegram is as well, but Telegram, there's a little nuance there. But especially for people, I think, use it internationally a lot.
All right.
So you can call on WhatsApp and everything. But a lot of people use it, like I say, for international stuff, It seems like. But anyway, you'll find like stuff like that on WhatsApp every now and then where someone will be like, hey, how's it going? You know, and they always start off like that.
Yeah.
And I just
really
like,
vague. Yeah.
block right off the bat, man. I remember one time I went like, wrong number, and they came back with like, you know, hey, you know, and I'm like, nah, block. But so this was through your text.
Yeah, this was like a rando text from like a Las Vegas number.
Yeah, every now and like very seldom, but I'll get those very rarely. It's funny, it's almost like you can't answer your phone or you can't get a text, like you can't respond to anything that you don't really know that it's the person.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting catfish. Did you ever see that documentary, Catfish?
Yeah, that's no good. I was thinking of these proverbs. It says, getting treasures by a lying tongue is the fleeting fantasy of those who seek death. And so I was thinking of this.
Read that again.
Getting treasures by a lying tongue. So this Catherine, Charlotte, is the fleeting fantasy of those who seek death. They think they're getting treasures, right? Because she's like, you know, or supposedly it's a she, but she's getting treasure from this guy, right? But really she's on the path of death. That's the idea.
They don't even know they're seeking death.
They don't even know it. It says, the soul of the wicked desires evil. His neighbor finds no favor in his eyes. So I think, too, that idea of, you know, the soul of the wicked desires evil, you know, trying to get money from old people. I mean, just think of, you know, what your heart's got to be like to go after someone. But I've worked with many men, dude, who have given a lot of money away to, you know, the woman in the Orient.
Yeah, I had a Christian brother that kind of got pulled into that.
Yeah,
he was kind of, you know, he's an older guy. You know, he's older than me. He's probably about 20 years older than me, and you know, he's kind of lonely, you know, and he wants to get married, you know, and he's still, you know, waiting to see if the Lord has that in store for him or not. And you know, and I don't know all the details, but he did tell me how he like had started sending this lady money, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is like a scam. And he's like, no, like she knows, like, you know, I told her, you know, yeah, like he's like already planning out like a future with this lady. Like, no, like, you know, I told her, like, you know, I'm a Christian and I'm all that, you know, you got to be a Christian, and like I go to church, and you know, I'm a usher at the church, and that's what my life's about, is, you know, just serving God and serving the church. And you know, and then, you know, she's supposed to come down so that they can meet, but then something doesn't happen, can you send more money for a bus ticket? And then
It's always something.
that money, I had to use it for this, but I'm really going to come this time, but how about I take a flight this time, because that'll be faster, so how about you send more money for a flight this time, and he finally, saw like it was fake, and it was like, dude, she's just, if it is a chick, she's just like scamming you, like.
Yeah. So on that note of kind of these lonely men out there, that get taken in, we wanted to talk about incels on this podcast. So we got to kind of read through it a little bit. I did already, before you even came, I recorded a video from this Dr. Todd Grande, who goes over a little bit of what an incel is, what it means, all that jazz. Just for those listening, they could listen to it. I'll make sure it's on the recording and they can hear it out and understand a little more about it.
Today's question asks if I can comment on the mental health, personality, and behavior elements of the community known as the incels, so the involuntarily celibate. Now, the members of this community and some of the specific people I'll be talking about are, of course, real people. So I'm not diagnosing anybody here, just speculating on what could be happening in a situation like this. So as I indicated, the term incel stands for involuntarily celibate. And I've only really ever heard this term referring to males who want to have sex with females. I suppose it could be used in other situations, but again, I've only heard incel used in that way. So the word involuntary, of course, means that someone doesn't have a choice. And in this case, the word celibate means not having sex. Although the original definition for celibate meant someone who doesn't get married. So the not having sex part was really implied with the not getting married part. Now, the incel ideology, I'll just call it that, ideology, is distinct from the MGTOW ideology. That's the men going their own way community. Although technically someone could be a member of both communities at the same time. Now, this construct, this incel construct, is more than just heterosexual males who are unable to find a partner. There's an underlying ideology behind this community. So just like with any philosophy or ideology, the beliefs are going to be on a continuum. And there are people who identify themselves as incels who don't necessarily believe in the more extreme elements of this ideology. It's worth noting that some of the incel forums restrict the posts containing violent or extreme views. So we see some self-regulation in the community starting to happen. In this video, I'm really going to be focusing on the incel ideology in the context of extremist behavior. So what does this incel ideology look like? Well, the first thing to understand is it's not a well-organized community. It mostly exists online, and some of the online communities have been abolished or restricted. And we saw this with Reddit some time ago. They banned the incel subreddit. But even within this fragmented community that is not standardized, we do see some literature detailing some of the more common beliefs of this group. So as I mentioned before, the incel ideology is more than just men frustrated because they are not successful at finding a female partner, but rather it's a form of male supremacy. Members of the incel community, I'm just going to refer to them as incels. Incels believe that they have the right to have sex, and that when women are not attracted to them or withhold sex, those women are violating those men's basic rights, the basic rights of the incels. This group seeks vengeance against women in general for this behavior, but they direct a lot of anger toward the most attractive women. They refer to these women as Stacys. And they direct a lot of anger toward the most attractive men who are having sex with the attractive women. They refer to these men as Chads. So in the incel ideology, you have attractive men who are Chads and attractive women who are Stacys. And of course the incels don't fall into either category. They're not Chads, they actually despise the Chads, and they're unable to attract the Stacys. And of course they also despise the Stacys. Now, specifically looking at some of the incel groups that focus on vengeance, we see the incel rebellion and what's sometimes called the beta uprising or the beta male uprising. So what we see here is that the incels believe that a relatively small number of very attractive males have sex with attractive females, and therefore the incels cannot compete with them, with the people they call Chads, and they cannot have sex with the people they call Stacies. They believe that these men have an advantage because of online dating sites and social media sites that tend to focus on attractiveness and not on other areas where the incels may have an advantage of their own. So a lot of this is really about the physical attractiveness of the Chads, as they call them, and the Stacies, as they call them. Now, we see in reviews of website postings, which is really one of the ways we understand the incel ideology because it's not studied well in terms of research at this point, that many in this community advocate violence against women. I mentioned that before. And there have been a series of violent incidents tied to people who identify themselves as part of the incel community. The number of violent instances is really unknown because we don't know what everyone was thinking at the time when they commit crimes. But there are a few crimes, specifically murders, that seem to be clearly tied to this ideology.
It seems like some of the men that have been taken in through these scams certainly could fit some of this mold of this group of people that call themselves incels.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with this? How did you hear about this?
Most things in my life through, pop music.
Okay.
I was listening, I got teen kids and I listen to the top 40 station.
Yep.
And there's this rapper, singer girl, and she started talking about saying something about incels. And I'm like, what is she talking about? What is it? Because I had heard someone else use that term before, but it just kind of went over my head and I didn't really think much about it. Then when I heard her say it, I'm like, well, what is this what's going on? I gotta look this up, find out what it is. And so I looked it up and kind of went down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this is pretty crazy because I don't know, I'm really fascinated by subcultures.
Yeah.
Different kinds of subcultures.
There's
They've always
a lot of them.
just any kind of subcultures always fascinating me, like the punk subculture, rockabilly people, and there's all these different skins and all these different kinds of subcultures. I just find it fascinating. So I started reading about these people and I'm like, I think it's really extreme. Some of them just sound kind of like that lonely guy that you knew that's kind of I'd like a girlfriend but I can't find one, girls don't like me, I don't know how to talk to them. And then some of them get really militant and violent, from reading the stuff I was finding online, and they're kind of on watch lists with the government. They keep an eye on these different incel cells. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. So this is an article from actually CNN. What does the term incel mean? And this is the one you sent me. But it talks about an incel is basically short for involuntary celibate.
Mm-hmm.
An incel describes someone, usually a male, who is frustrated by their lack of sexual experiences. So it's a dude who wants to have sex, but for some reason can't have sex with females. And so for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
He just can't seem to land a girl.
But it also seems like there was, it doesn't really flat out say it, but it's kind of they're wanting a certain kind of girl too. They talk about in the article, they deem them Stacies. They want, which is kind of the idealized, maybe
the pretty girl,
the Cindy Crawford, Pam Anderson,
girl or something
type chick. They want and because and then there's the guys that they call Chads. These are the guys that kind of can get with these chicks. These are the jocks, the big men on campus.
Right.
And so it's kind of they get kind of bitter about it.
It's so Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Dude. Isn't it? It's 1985 Revenge of the Nerds lingo, dude.
Yeah, it totally is. But
if you haven't seen the movie out there, don't watch it.
Yeah, don't. It's not a good movie.
We just grew up with it, so that's why.
That's just talking about that. That was a crazy movie. Thinking about the movie, recently, I was just thinking about that, what was going on in the 80s, man? My parents would let me watch stuff like that.
Yeah, they had a whole genre, right, of TNA movies.
Yeah, every movie, it was gratuitous. You had to have it.
Oh, yeah.
This is the point where we show, topless chicks in the movie.
Yes.
Whether it has anything to do with the story or not.
But I think Revenge of the Nerds was incels. I mean,
Yeah.
you had these dudes that were called nerds that wanted to get with the pretty sorority girl, the girl at college, the cheerleader for the university team. They couldn't do it, and they kind of conjured up ways to, get at the chads, at the guys who could or would.
And it's kind of crazy because it does kind of end in rape.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to really dissect what goes on, like, yeah, it's kind of like...
Yeah, there's like this going after these girls.
Yeah.
And even though the girls are running from them, it's, and that's so much in so many movies that's kind of celebrated, right? Where the woman really doesn't want to be with the guy, but, the guy is just pursuing.
Well, not only that, but then she like the Stacy falls for the nerd at the end. So it's kind of like this fantasy's realized now, like, and all these nerds watch the movie and are like, wow, like, so it can happen, like, I can get the Stacy.
So they call the woman the Stacy?
Yeah, like the hot chicks are like, they call them Stacy's, and then like the jocks they refer to as Chads.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, it is so Revenge of the Nerds, man. I mean, that's what I think of. And it says that the Anti-Defamation League, and I'm back to the CNN article, which works to address hate and extremism, defines incels as heterosexual men who blame women and society for their lack of romantic success. So there is this kind of ideology, right, that's with these incels where they're really thinking like there's a system, almost like if you think of feminism. Feminism has like this is what's going on. There's a patriarchy, and the patriarchy needs to be brought down.
Yeah, and they even bring that term up in the article. They talk about the patriarchy. They kind of had to politicize the article a little bit, because it is CNN. So like, we got to kind of tie this to the right wing people,
right, and then get them, and then it's this, totally. But it's that kind of idea of, in incel ideology, there's this idea of a system that is set up against them, that they have a right to have these relationships with these pretty girls, but the system is set up where they somehow can't do it.
It's the man. It's always the man keeping people down.
That's right.
If it's not Black Lives Matter, it's the incels.
It's Whitey, man.
Yeah, just keep it. Another plan perpetrated by the man to keep the brothers down. That's all it is.
That's right. I think of Curtis Mayfield songs or something like that. That's what it reminds me of. I'm gonna get you, sucker, or something like that. Go after the man. But but that's what it is. It is an ideology. And that's why people talk about incels, is that it's not just something kind of you can blow over, because there is an ideology of these males that get together and have these group discussions about the system that is preventing them from their rightful ability to have sex with these beautiful women.
Yeah.
And which has created in them a violent behavior, right, in their life. So it says, let's see, it says, incels identity shatters into several facets, some of which are considered dangerous both to the public and to the very individuals who claim it. Let's see. I mean, it's certainly, the ideology is very similar to misogyny. And so it is predominantly male groups that are a part of these incels. It talks a little bit about the history of where this word comes from. It actually comes from a lady named Alana in 1990. But it seems like the big issue why this has been banned on platforms like Reddit is because of the violence.
Yeah, it's kind of evolved. Like it talks about, it was actually started by a woman to begin with. I guess it was like kind of feeling unlucky in love. kind of like, and then it's like morphed into what it is, kind of like going back to like, these subcultures. They always seem to turn violent, kind of like with like, take the skinheads. Like, it wasn't a violent subculture to begin with. It was like working class, English youth into reggae music and soul music and stuff like that. And then it slowly morphed into this like white nationalist, English nationalist type thing that completely different from where it started. And it's like, why do these subcultures, a lot of them always seem to like they start off as one thing and then they turn violent.
Yeah.
They get co-opted and turn into something completely different than what they
it's funny.
started.
It's like when you think of that, you think, that's like, there's a lot there to unpack of why just, cultures, subcultures, all tend to, when we group together, we tend to kind of get into mob mentality. Whether it's big, like political systems, they tend to get crazy and kill people and a lot of people, or it's small subcultures, we tend to do that too.
But even things like Greenpeace, you got a bunch of hippies, but then they'll like kind of faction off and get major extreme and like, now we're going to try to poison the water system, you know, in a major city. Like, what? I guess it's just the heart of man is wicked.
Yeah.
And we just always want to go that direction.
Yeah, we want to force. We always want to force people, force our ideologies on other people, force people into, a conformity. And if people can't, there's whole religions that are predicated on if you don't convert, then there is a potential of harm. And could you imagine that? Like, you don't convert to their way of thinking, their belief systems, their belief systems on spiritual matters, and you could potentially be put to death.
Yeah, Christianity's even been guilty of that. You know what I mean? Burning people at the stake, and
which is
heretics.
Which, thank God, we have a book where the Messiah, meaning the anointed one of God, the God man, when he taught, he said, "Love your enemies," and so we have it from the source that those churches that did this weren't right. So our source says that when churches are burning people and sticking knives in people or doing this kind of thing, that's wrong. But some people's source material, their ideologies, are ones where it's okay to do harm. You're actually doing good if you rid the world of these so-called bad people. And it's amazing when you get lonely. I was noticing on a Psychology Today on incels, there's an article there by, Craig Harper, called Inside the Minds of the Incels. But he says the mental health of incels tends to be poor, with mental reporting high levels of loneliness. So again, the article we read in our local paper, guy's lonely, gets online. You think about it, you're 70 years old.
Yeah, but but that guy was married.
Yeah.
You can be married and lonely, but
some 38-year-old girls, hitting you up on Facebook. You're all, man, dude, I'm hip. Right?
Yeah, but obviously the guy, we don't know. It didn't really go into detail, but it wasn't Christian behavior. Let's put it that way. Maybe he is a Christian, but yeah.
But loneliness, you can be lonely and you fall into a depression, kind of like Elijah does, right? After the incredible experience he had on Mount Carmel against the prophets of Baal. And man, what an experience that was. Yeah. And then after that, he falls into this rut. He goes into the cave, experiences this kind of, I'm all alone.
We see that through the Bible where these people have the mountain experience and they come back down in the valley, and it's kind of like we see that in David's life. A lot of people think David was depressed at different points in his life.
Yeah, his writing is, I can't even move, my bed is filled with tears. All day long he just sits and his body.
But do you think Elijah's was loneliness?
Well, I think he felt like he was the only prophet of Israel, and God had to say to him, "Hey, Elijah, I have reserved so many hundred people. Like, you're not the only one."
I don't know. I don't know. I just think he's kind of like, he didn't want them to get saved. It was the Ninevites. He did not want to go to them. He says, "I know you're a merciful God."
You're talking about Jonah.
Jonah, wasn't Elijah? Wait, okay, he called down fire on the bull. They dug the trench around it, right?
That was Mount Carmel.
Okay, I'm getting my stories mixed up.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Just don't go all Muhammad on me. I'm going through the Quran right now, and I just got done my live stream of part 5 of the second part of the Quran called it's called a surah, but the second part. The second surah, I should say, but. It was interesting because, in the Quran, it kind of meshes a bunch of the stories of the Bible. So it's kind of like you did it on accident, but this is supposedly the words of Allah, and it mixes Gideon with Abraham and Saul and David, and it's kind of all meshed. You're kind of like
all right. So that's when he calls down the fire,
Elijah,
and he jigs a trench and he fills it with water,
and then he goes into a cave,
and then he starts mocking him and maybe he's on the toilet.
Right. No. Yeah. So Elijah goes into the cave, and God approaches Elijah and says, "Hey, I've reserved people," because Elijah does feel like he's all alone, and so that. But he didn't obviously, he wasn't an incel. It's not like incel ideology is thinking about, beautiful women. How can I have sex? It's this whole idea of it is my male right to have sex with beautiful women. And if you deny me of that right, then it's not that I'm going to put myself on you and force myself on you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get with other men, and we're just going to talk about how we're going to degrade you. Yeah. We're going to talk badly about women and kind of kind of torment them, kind of talk horribly about them. Yeah. Which is really, I just find a weird thing. I was thinking about my junior high years when I was reading about incels, and I was thinking there in junior high you kind of have this kind of idea too. Yeah. Where a lot of us grow up and we're in these groups, and us guys, we're in these groups of guys, and we all want to be with the pretty girls. Yeah. And we talk about it all the time. We're like, "Oh man, dude, she's hot." And we're into that. And it's like, if someone else is with that girl in our school, we tend to diss them or talk bad about them. In our own private groups. Yeah. When you're hanging out with your friends, you're like, "Oh, dude, that dude's a blah blah." You know what I mean? You just say stupid stuff. But and it's and sometimes you can even in junior high, you can even get so mentally weirded out. Filled with jealousy and all this weird stuff.
Junior high is weird, man.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird because I don't know, your hormones are all out of whack. But I remember having weird thoughts in junior junior high. It was really weird, man. Yeah. And if you can kind of make it through that, high school's hard, but junior high is really rough.
Yeah, and I think mentally, a lot of us young guys, we did really stupid, bad stuff to people, and it was tormenting in a way. Oh, yeah. Where you would daily go at people, girls, guys, but you would go at them, and it was for stupid reasons. You read about this incel community, where it's almost like you're a junior high and you have this huge ego, and it's my right. I could cuss at them every day and tell them what jerks they are.
Yeah. And you're right. Thinking about it, it's just everybody was picking on everybody.
Yeah,
everybody.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was just
and girls were bad at with girls.
Yeah,
super nasty. The most nastiest talk.
And about weird stuff. I remember girls tell me about like, oh yeah, like I was getting teased really hard in junior high because like I hadn't started my period yet.
Right.
I'm like, what? Like that girls make fun of each other for that? Like that's like the weirdest.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. That's like I don't know. That's just like a weird thing to make fun of someone about.
I know. I just watched Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Oh yeah,
And
Judy Blume.
I remember reading that when I was a kid,
Uh-huh.
and I remember for some reason I remember reading it, thinking, "Why am I reading this book about this girl?" But I ended up I was fascinated by it, man. I was a young boy, and I was, just fascinated by this Judy Blume book.
Yeah,
And-
well, they would have like mild swear words in them.
Yeah, and I just
And
thought
like
it was
when you're in
amazing.
junior high, like you're reading before that, you're like in Green Eggs and Ham,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden there's like these books written about like people your age,
Yeah.
and there's like swear words in them, and they're in the school library too. Like,
Right.
do they know this is in here?
Yeah.
Like, how did this get mixed in with the other books?
Oh, I know.
There was like that book, and I remember like Rumblefish. Which did you ever read that book?
Yeah.
It's kind of like written by the same guy I think that wrote The Outsiders, and there's those kind of books in there, and you're like, wow, this is wild, crazy
this is
stuff.
good stuff.
Yeah, it's like about 50s gangs and people getting shivved and like
Yeah.
people dying. Like,
Yeah.
it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I totally see kind of a junior high mentality. It's almost like this group of incels, these males, haven't grown up from the 7th grade. It's like they're stuck.
Yeah, I see that a lot in the younger generations. Now I'm going to sound like an old man, but I feel like a lot with like these millennials, like that they're like stuck, and I see them and I'm just like, what are you doing with your life, man? Like they're like, oh, I live at home still, and I stay up till 4 a.m. playing video games. I'm like, what are you doing with your? How old are you? Oh, I'm like, 25. Like, I was like, do you know what I was doing when I was 25? You know, it wasn't good stuff, I'll tell you that. But I was like, through caution to the wind, I was living life.
Yeah.
Like burning the candle at both ends, and you guys like are playing video games and living with your mom and dad still. Like,
Yeah.
I was a maniac at your age. Like, what you guys had like this arrested development, like,
Yeah.
this failure to launch. What are you doing? Like, I had a job and an apartment and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. I think all of us junior hires wanted to not be celibate. We would have loved to have been with girls on some level, kissing them, whatever it was. We would have loved that. But a lot of the pretty girls, they weren't into us stoners. You know what I mean? Or they were just like, you guys are a little crazy, and that kind of thing. And but what it did is it made us group together and like just have this kind of forget it mentality, and then you start cussing at people, and you have this rage, and you want to beat things up, and you want to take it out. So we'd ride our bikes hard, and if there was a red light, we'd go through it and flip the people off in the cars, or, do stupid stuff.
Oh, way stupid stuff. Like, oh man, my friends, like, we used to like throw rocks at the fire trucks as they'd go by.
Yeah.
Because they're on their way to fire. Like, oh, they can't stop. Like,
All right, chuck it.
yeah, let's just start throwing rocks at the
Yeah.
fire truck, man. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And it was like we were like juvenile delinquents.
Right. And it's like, it's so reckless. But a lot of it, I think, comes from, wanting to be a part of a group. It's got to be these incels too are like that. I got to imagine these lonely men, they want to be a part of something. They want to feel, liked. They want to feel attractive, all those things like that. And for some reason, it's not happening. And it could be that they are lonely, they are depressed. It could be that they are, they have resentment and bitternesses that have handcuffed them in their life, where they don't have a healthy, mental stability. They could be that they don't have good jobs. They haven't been really hard workers. They haven't tried to improve their life. They've always made excuses. They're victim mentalities, that kind of thing. Oh, it's the world, man. It's the effing, system. It's this, it's that. And, to me, like an incel group, when you read this on Psychology Today or CNN or whatever, to me, it is blame. Blame, 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 blame. That's all I hear is like, and that's the first red flag in all of our lives, right? It's like if you are blaming system and people and your family members, and you're going down the list and you're just blaming people over and over and over, it's got to be a red flag.
I think it's, like I've said this before on the podcast, I think it all comes back to pride. It's pride. I deserve more than this. What you have given me, God, isn't enough. I deserve more. I deserve this. I deserve Stacy's. I deserve a big car and lots of money. And you haven't given these things to me, God, so I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take it. I'm going to make it mine. Like, if
Wow.
I really believe that's what it is. Like,
Well, yeah.
just not being content.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, certainly pride is definitely, of course, always right there.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, it's like, how can people get out of this loneliness that drives you into aggression? And
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus is always the answer, just like Billy Graham used to say, Jesus. They just need Jesus. But it's the truth. It sounds simple and trite, but it's the truth. You need Jesus. Because I was like a lot of these guys, not as extreme, but I remember feeling that way. Like, like, I want more. Why can't I have more? Like, why do the jocks get this? Why do, I hung around, like, the graffiti kids and the stoners and the rockers, and the gangbangers. So I was, like, hanging out, like, in the margins with the fringe society. So, like, there's, like, this chip on your shoulder, like, and we're going to go out and we're going to make it ours. We're going to get this stuff. Yeah. However we got to do it, whatever it is, whether it's money, girl, whatever, we're going to make it happen. We're going to figure this out.
Yeah, and Jesus, I'm glad Jesus is the answer always, in our lives. There's something that's missing in men's hearts, obviously, to be taken for $250,000, because, Catherine Charlotte is asking, for money at $30K a pop. Something's amiss in that heart. Jesus said, "Lo, I am with you always, even to the ends of the earth." I mean, what a beautiful statement, man. I'm always with you. I'll never leave you, never forsake you. I'm with you, man. I'm your friend, right? I call you friends. I lay down my life for you. That whole idea. And you think about it. What is missing in these incels and these people's lives? Like, and to me, it's like, something that a church community can offer people, right? And that is just fellowship, people. And with people come perspectives, right? You hang out with people and you get different perspectives on life. And then you meet other people that are like you. Maybe they don't want to be celibate, but they are. And they've learned how to deal with their singleness, in a healthy way before God.
I think a lot of it, and I'm probably going to sound really old-timey right now, is like they lack strong Christian male role models in the home. Because this is obviously what we're talking about right here is the men issues. Women have their issues too. But this is a male issue, and I think a lot of it is like they don't have strong male Christian role models in the house. They don't have kingdom men in their household, a father leading them, teaching them to be godly. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from. So we just kind of go our own ways if we don't have a strong male figure in our life that's like kind of directing us in the ways of God.
Yeah, it's interesting that someone can be 70 years old, right, and just not just fall into that. You think like, oh man, by the time you're 70, you probably have it down. Like, hey, I'm not going to be just giving $30K out, and like I am married and I'm cool and I'm good and I don't need to get catfished because I'm good, I'm secure.
You would. But the older I get, the more I realize like that's not how it is.
There's a fragileness, right?
Like I remember like when I was in my 20s, there was this guy at my work. He was probably in his 60s. He was in his 60s at the time. I was in my late 20s and I was just going through with some girl problems, and I'm like, Joe, does it get easier? Tell me it gets easier. He's like, no. I was like, does it ever go away? Like, you don't even think about women anymore, and like, you're just happy being an old man sitting on the couch. He's all, no. It never goes. I'm like, what do you mean it never goes away? I'm waiting until like, I become an old man, then I don't have to. I don't have these problems anymore. He's like, it never goes away.
Wow.
You're always going to have these problems. And I'm like, wow, geez, thanks.
Yeah, that's a rough assessment. I would hope that we have some progress, in our, and to me, like being a part of the community, the church community, is vital to get out of my own head.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, to get, and you get lonely, go to a fellowship. Get into a fellowship. Hang out with other people. Again, you get perspectives. You get, oh my God, there's other people like me.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah, and you need to be transparent too, so people can speak into your lives. If you're not sharing your struggles, how is anyone going to, speak into your life?
Yeah.
You should have people, that are further in their walk than you, kind of pouring into you, and you should be pouring into people that are younger than you, that are not as far in their walk as you are.
Yeah.
Like we just need to be the body of Christ and constantly be pouring into each other. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can't remember what it is in the Bible. I'm like going to butcher it, but it talks about like a man who, seeks to be alone is like, seeking. How does it go? You probably know better than me.
Yeah, a person who isolates himself.
Yeah, is like seeking to do their own thing. And
yeah,
like, they're in a dangerous spot.
Yeah,
like you got to have like accountability groups.
Yeah,
I think accountability groups are. I think they're good, but at the same time, I think like we have Jesus. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I think there is a place for accountability groups. But
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Ultimately, you got to be taking this stuff before Jesus.
Yeah,
laying it down at His feet.
Yeah, and if you're, you got to work it. Like if you're not working, meaning if you're not, faith without works is dead. If you're not coming to God, praying, and saying, God, thank you, being thankful, being grateful, like you talked about, being appreciative of things in your life. If you're not working that prayer life, then of course you're going to become bitter. The world is a fallen world. It's a yucky world. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Yeah. It's not a turn the other cheek world. It's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth world. Yeah. And so, you have to be working it. It's not just showing up at church, but it's saying, I am willing to start working on things in my life. And that starts with me learning to pray, and to pray the way God wants me to pray. Not praying what I want, not my will be done, right? But God's will be done. And learning to pray that way. Where it seems like someone who's in the incel world, contrasting with that biblical mindset, is one that's self-consumed. Yeah. And people can go to church and be fully self-consumed. Yeah. Where it's, oh God, that preacher sucks, and oh, this church sucks, and oh, they didn't do this, and they didn't greet me, and they didn't, you know what I mean? It's like it just constant self, criticizing all the time. Yeah. And which you're not going to be at peace ever in your life. Yeah. If you go that direction.
Yeah, if you're looking to be served, are you coming to serve or be served? You want to be like Pastor Scott says, you want to be a pew potato, or you're going to get down here in the dirt and do something,
It's crazy that women have to think about a group of people, of males, that literally get together and just sit there and bag on.
Well, I guess they're doing it too. I just found this out a couple days ago from somebody that I work with. And
is there like the flip
well, I
side?
don't know. I don't know this guy too well, but he started saying some things, and I was like, okay, where are you going with this? But he had maybe some incel leanings. He's like, can you believe that there's this website where you have to be a woman to join, and you can just go on there and bag ex-boyfriends and talk about how terrible they are, and like put this, the bat signal out and let everybody know like why you need to stay away from Jimmy in apartment 12 because this guy's a dog. And he was like really like upset about this. He's like, that's wrong. They shouldn't be able to do that. And then it started kind of getting kind of like, as men we can't do that, women are just taking over everything nowadays. Men have no more rights and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, settle down, guy. All right. Like, calm down. But like, so I guess women are doing this too. They're getting out there and just being like, men are dogs, and especially this one. Let me tell you about this one that I know.
Right.
And they're just putting dudes on blast on the internet.
Yeah, but that's a little different in the sense that they probably, it's not their primary motivation isn't that they're not able to have sex with people.
Yeah, no.
Right? They're just bagging on.
Yeah, they've just been burned. They're scorned women.
Right. Right. Which is, what does it say? A scorned woman?
Yeah.
I forget, but
hell hath no fury like a scorned woman.
That's right. That's right. That's not in the Bible.
No, that's not biblical.
But no, that's I wouldn't be surprised. I could understand that. What bothers me is when you have a bunch of dudes, grown men at that just sit there and feed one another.
Yeah, but
this junk.
What's crazy about it to me is like this whole, it's like a sexual thing. This is like, it all ties back to sex. Like what, like sex is like crazy. It's just like this. It's so powerful. Like that. Like what else would you do this about? What else would join men together and provoke them to violence like
What's
this?
Weird is, okay, so when someone couldn't have, growing up, okay, you and I close to the same age, but when you were growing up and you heard that people wanted to have sex, but they couldn't, for some reason they couldn't get with someone, what they usually turned to was prostitution. That was kind of a normal thing, meaning it was common. Yeah. You heard about that all the time. It was in movies. It was something that was just common part of culture.
Yeah.
That if you wanted to be with a pretty girl and you couldn't do it, there was other places you could do that.
Not only that, but it's kind of weird. Like there was like also, I feel like with our generation and generations before it, like this whole thing of like, there was always the uncle that's like, oh, you haven't had sex yet? Well, we're going to take care of that.
Right.
And then he takes you to like, here, especially being in Arizona, takes you across the line to Mexico, and I know a place, and we're going to get this taken care of. We're going to get this settled for you.
Yeah.
I can't have my nephew walking around, having not experienced these kinds of things before.
Yeah, and that was very common.
Yeah, very common. It's like, it's just crazy.
So it's weird that in our perspective from our age and growing up, to have a bunch of dudes getting together, getting angry because they can't be with pretty girls for whatever reason, and getting mad at the guys who are with those girls, it's like, why don't you guys just go to Hollywood and Vine? I mean, why don't you guys, get on a plane and go to an island?
Because with the incels, it's not about that. It's like these women should be grateful that we want to have sex with them, and they should just lay down for us. And,
it's a weird ideology.
Yeah, it's very weird, very self-centered, very prideful type thing. Like, they should be just grateful that we want to have sex with them, and they should be available for whenever we want to have sex with them. Very like caveman-ish. Like,
it's definitely the definition of like misogyny when you think of that word.
And I think maybe like the hookup culture adds to this even more so maybe than when we were young, because now it's like back in the day, go back to it, it's like you kind of had to be smooth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had to like no attitude. Well, hey, this is what you want to tell her. Your buddies are telling oh, next time you guys are together, you tell her this garbage, and and try to finagle her out of her clothes,
Right.
And like nowadays with this hookup culture, like the girls are just like the guys. They're going online looking for these random hookups. And it's like everyone's doing it, and now there's still this like subset of people that are like, even with this hookup culture, we still can't get any action, and now we're extra mad. We're extra mad about this.
And I wonder if a part of it is it's not that they really can't. They're not like good-looking guys or anything. It's that they really do have, something's spiritually off, mentally off, where they sabotage themselves. They really are fueled in their life by an incredible self-focus and anger.
Do you think maybe pornography ties into that? It's so readily available now.
Yeah.
And I've already heard like I've heard this, I've read this, that a lot of these younger guys, they watch so much pornography, they think this is, and I met a guy like this, I used to work with a guy like this, that like, he believed he didn't have a lot of experience with women or anything, and he thought, he would like ask you questions and stuff, and it's like, no, that's not how life is. And he thought like, pornos were real, these are documentaries, like this is how things go down. I'm like, no bro, that's not how things go down. That's like pornography, okay? That's not the real world.
Yeah.
Like, there's not like a cheerleader in the back of the bus with 15 dudes just like begging for it. Like, where are you where are you getting this from? Like, that's not reality, man.
Yeah. And it could be, it's certainly, pornography, the amount of guilt and shame that human beings carry in their heart has an effect on them. And so if you don't have a good remedy to deal with guilt and shame, then you're just going to carry that burden. And how many dudes just carry the burden over and over and over, and they don't have a remedy? Jesus, I like to call Jesus the remedy. He is the fix, man.
Yeah.
He's the one who deals with our guilt and our shame. Yeah. He is the atonement for our sin. He is the one who laid down his life for us. He gives us, not because we are perfect people, but he gives us a perfect relationship with the Father through the Son. He gives us that kind of family relationship. We have family ties now through the Son.
But I like what you said earlier, like that, like you got to be working it. You got to be doing it, because like I think a lot of times people, because I've had conversations with people, is like, well, you need, like, this is going on. What do you suggest for me? And I'd be like, let go Jesus. And they think it's like, what I mean by that is like, it's a magic Jesus pill.
Yeah.
And you take it and all the struggles are gone.
Yeah.
And you're, walking in this rarefied air. And you're not struggling with these things anymore.
Yeah. You just say, Jesus, take the wheel, and that's it. And
I'm like, no, no, it may get actually harder for you in different ways. Or like, that's not what I mean by like, Jesus is the answer. Like, oh, I took the magic Jesus pill and now everything's great and I just wake up in the morning and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like you may struggle even harder sometimes, because now like you're resisting it. You're resisting with it. Now all of a sudden you're on the radar of the enemy and he's going to be coming against you and he's going to make you even maybe more tempted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
certainly. And then you fall, and then if you're back in shame and guilt, then read the book of Romans, man. Open up the book of Romans and read the whole book in one sitting. And man, you'll find out that God has dealt with your shame and your guilt through the Son. It says Jesus came and died for the ungodly. He died for ungodly. That's you and that's me. And he paid the price, and he justified us by faith.
That's why you got to be under sound biblical teaching, because you get caught up in a lot of these, like, especially prosperity circles and stuff, and they're like, well, if it's not working, Jesus came to free the captive, so if you're still struggling, you must be defunct. There's something wrong with you. Have you confessed all your sins? Have you done something's wrong? And if you get caught up, and it happened to me when I was a new believer, like, well, I'm not having my breakthrough, like, because the guy on the TV told me my breakthrough's coming. And I've been struggling a while now, and I haven't got that breakthrough yet. So it must be something in me. There's unconfessed sin in my life, or maybe I'm not even saved at all. Yeah,
and then you got to then you got to either believe that I'm good, kind of say over and over and over, like, Jesus, just to convince yourself that you're good, because you really are feeling that guilt and shame. You really don't have good theology. You don't understand your identity in Christ. You don't understand the atonement, what Jesus has done. He didn't just put a little bit of, a little bit of, to cover your sin. He literally wiped your sin out as far as the east is from the west. So, he's removed our transgressions from us. It says your sins were as scarlet. He made you white as snow. You are cleansed. And that alone, if you can fix your eyes on Jesus's atonement for you, his sacrifice for you, and what he did for you, then you can have your guilt and your shame dealt with, where you're not just simmering in this place of going like, oh my gosh, I looked at porn again, and I'm da 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 da, and then you're just eating yourself, and then you get in the flesh, and then you start thinking carnal minded, and now you get with other people, and you're like, God, this stinks, and you know why I go to porn? It's because I can't be with those women, and there's women that they should be with us, but they're not with us, and so now I got to go to porn, and and you start rationalizing and justifying and all that stuff. And again, it's something that we do very well in junior high, but you expect junior high kids that are going through puberty to be really squirrely like that, and to not deal with our emotions very well. But yeah, you're right, there is an arrested development that has taken place. And bad theology, man, I agree with you 100%. If you don't have good theology, you're not going to deal with things in your life very well, especially the issues of your heart. Resentments, bitternesses. I'm mad at mom. I'm mad at dad. I'm mad at this. I'm mad at that. Yeah, it's one thing to be mad at people, but it's another thing to inflict harm on other people because they're not doing what you want them to do. So I agree, man. Does pornography play a part in those things, in these people, in incel communities? I would imagine so. They don't want to do porn probably, but they find themselves going to it. And then it makes them feel guilty. It makes them feel shameful. And then they fight it and fight it and fight it. And then they get angry, and just not dealing with things properly. And again, self-consumed, just self-consumed. And instead of helping people, instead of getting out and doing things for people, loving your neighbor, instead they just simmer. Yeah. Which is not good. I mean, could you imagine if you were married to someone who had this kind of idea of, this kind of like, it's my right. And I
think there are Christians like that.
That's right.
That think like, that my wife. It says right here in the Bible, your body is mine, so you belong to me. You're my property. Whenever I want sex, and it's not godly at all.
Right. And they forgot the idea of love.
So it's So, and then you can think, we've talked about this before. You can think you're doing it all right because I'm just having sex with my wife,
right?
And it's these incels, these dirty incels. These godless sinners,
Right.
And meanwhile, your marriage bed's all messed up too, just in a different way.
Yeah, you're kind of lusting in your own way.
Yeah.
Doing things wrong or being inappropriately rude, or not being sensitive, or just not being kind. Not, again, loving, right? Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not behave rudely. It does not seek its own, right? It's not boastful, and all that stuff. But yet a lot of people's sex lives are not patient, not kind, very self-seeking. And so it's
just their lives in general. Like, that's the way we are. We're all bent that way. We all think we're number one.
Yeah. And it's just sad that we have to go into harming people.
Yeah.
Where we have to be violent with our language.
Yeah, because there was instances in that article. It talks about where there's a couple self-proclaimed incels have gone out and committed acts of violence and killed numerous people in the process. And then they're hailed as heroes by the incel community.
Yeah, which sounds very religious, zealot, martyrdom.
Well, we're all created to worship. You're going to worship something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. It's so weird. Incels. Now, do your kids know what incels are?
No. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably the typical dad. Like, not my kids. Not
my kids.
My kids.
Watch it when we interview them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we know."
Yeah, I don't think they do, but like,
because you have let's see, you have daughters that are teenage years.
Yeah.
And so they probably hear music or
but I don't. I think a lot of the stuff goes over their head. I look back now, and like I picked up a lot of stuff. But then I'll go back and listen to old music and watch old movies, and I'll be like, wow, there was a lot of stuff that kind of went over my head.
Oh, totally.
As like an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And then, but at the same time, I was picking a lot of it up, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So, every parent I know always wants to think like, not my child. They don't know about that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I'll sometimes have this conversation with my wife, and then I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? And she's like, no, not our children. I'm like, what were you doing at 13? Because I know what I was doing at 13, and I know what other kids are doing at 13. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe we should have a talk with them. Yeah, I think, I have a daughter in her 20s, and I have a son that's in his 30s. And I'm going to ask him about this. I think that my grown adult kids will know what this is.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that if I think I'm gonna give it a shot, do a test. I'm gonna see them tonight. I'm gonna ask them, hey, do you know?
I bet they will. They're
I think they will.
They're part of the. My kids are still kind of young, and my kids are very sheltered.
Yep.
Maybe too sheltered, But yeah, your kids are older. Like they're out there in the world, and they grow up with the internet and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We're like the last generation to not, grow up with the internet.
Thank God.
And not having a computer in our back pocket.
I was so grateful. So grateful. Gosh, it was awesome. I mean, it was the best, man. It was really fun without any computers.
Yeah.
The world was, as far as growing up goes, it was, to me, it was just so fun to not have to have a computer. Yeah. I mean, we had a TV with 13 channels. When I was little, and that was awesome.
Yeah, I have a friend that thinks like we were neglected. That Gen Xers were like, we're just neglected. A lot of latchkey kids. We just kind of were left to our own devices.
Yeah.
Left with cable TV, and she's like, no, that wasn't a good thing. Because we'll like talk, and they'll be like, yeah, that was awesome. Like doing this and doing that. Like, no, we were neglected. Don't you see we were neglected?
Well, a lot of us were. A lot of us, I think, were in a sense. We didn't. But what we didn't have is. We didn't have full isolation that a lot of people have today, where you can really isolate yourself and have a kind of form of community online around you, where we didn't have that. We literally had physical people, So,
I don't know if it was better or worse. It's kind of like we were talking about, like these, like nowadays. I mean, bullying still happens, but it seems like people like nip it in the bud really quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it's like you said, every day we're going and we're just like, oh, hey, there's there's Piggy. Hey, Piggy. What's going on? Piggy. And like just ridicule this kid every day.
Yeah.
So was it really better?
Well, no. I mean, I think it better in the sense that when I look at my life now, and I think of like having screens and having computers and and I think of, oh man, I'm an outdoor guy. I'm an extrovert. So for me, better is getting out, seeing people, meeting people, and so I was fortunate to live in an era where it really helped me with my temperament. And me and my brother both were very extroverted. We loved to be outside. We loved to throw footballs. We loved to play catch. We loved to play hockey. We loved to ride our bikes, and things like that, and see people. And so it worked out great, for us. There's no doubt that there's some people would say like, no, dude, I like today much better because, I like to just be alone. I like to be more by myself.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is like I feel like I don't know. I guess the world is safer in some way for children, but more dangerous at the same time.
Yeah, that's up in the air, right?
Yeah.
Because you always read, back in the day, people always say, oh, it was much better in the 50s. But of course it wasn't better in the 50s. I mean, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on. Racism was huge. People were getting dragged still by horses, like on ropes. I mean, better? No, I don't think that was better at all.
Like, yeah. Well, I just go by these schools nowadays and I see it's like, they have like these murals and it's like kindness. But there was like none of that in the 80s. It was like, the teachers made fun of you. The kids made fun. Everybody made fun of you. Like, just kind of like beat you down and made you tough and ground you into the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm saying better for Beau. In my mind, and I think that's what people, when you go on to like a Generation X forum on Facebook, that's what I think what people are saying when they say like, dude, my era was awesome and the 80s were the best. And, meaning they really enjoyed, the era and what technology we had. When Nintendo came out, and that kind of stuff. It was super fun. And we all loved going to roller rinks, and we all loved playing Defenders, and we all loved Tempest, and we all liked, Space Invaders, and I think that's what we mean when we say it was amazing. We really enjoyed the era, and I'm sure not everybody enjoyed the era. I'm sure there's plenty of people that go like, man, that sucked. Why? Because my mom kept saying, go outside, go outside, go outside. And I didn't want to go outside because I was just going to get picked on. Yeah. And that's probably true. Yeah. So I would imagine there's those people too. Anyway, cool podcast.
Yeah, cool. It was good.